Today's video is going to be a bit of a different one where I go through the pens that I have currently inked, and I'll give you some second looks for pens that I've already showed before on this channel, and a little bit of a sneak peek for future videos. So as you notice on the table, I have a new pen case. So it's a really affordable pen case that I bought. I believe I paid less than US $20 for it. And hopefully with this case, it'll give you a better look in terms of lengths of the pens when I try to compare them in future videos. So as you can see from this shot, you can see that the tallest pen right now is actually the Custom 823 by Pilot. The shortest one, which is my sneak peek into a future video, is actually my new Pilot Stella 9TS. It's new to me, but for the customers in the US, you would know this pen as the Stargazer by Pilot, which was discontinued sadly some time back. So this is going to be covered in a future video. So the first pen that I wanted to kind of speak about was my Lamy Safari in Fine, and this is the all black version, as you can see. And probably my impression of this pen after having used it for many months is, I'm kind of constantly amazed by how I am always learning from this pen. And the thing that I've learned from this pen, it might look like a pen where it's fairly simple, is with regards to these cutouts on the grip or the section area. And lots of people actually complain when they use Lamy Safaris. You have two camps basically. You have a camp who hates these cutouts that kind of forces you to hold the pen in a certain orientation when you're writing. And I've discovered something whereby if you don't actually hold it this way and rather hold it with your index finger on top of this top facet, for the lack of a better term, I find that I actually kind of write better with this pen, right? So that's something which I found out about the Lamy Safari recently. And maybe you can give it a go, that if you hold it this way, let me know your thoughts whether or not that improves your enjoyment of this particular pen. However, I do use this pen still, and I quite like it. Next two pens that I have in my little case down here are actually these two pens which I've showed in previous quick looks before. That's the Custom 823, and this is the Custom Heritage 912. And the reason why I have these inked is because I'm planning to do in a future video a comparison of their respective Falcon nibs. Those of you who have been following my videos would know that this first pen actually came with a Pilot Fine. I've actually swapped out just by pulling out this nib with my 743. And that's kind of something which lots of people have actually done with their 823s, where they have either gotten from a shop direct this particular Falcon nib, or they have done that swap which I've just mentioned, right? And the pen that you will probably have to swap with is the Custom 743. So I'm enjoying these two pens quite a lot. Just kind of my initial impression right now is the 823's nib is that ever so much enjoyable. That's I'm going to be covering more in a future video, but I kind of enjoy the 823's nib, that size 15 nib, kind of just that little bit more than the size 10 in the 912. However, the 912 has its benefits in that the nib is a little bit more flexible than the one here in 823, but I'll cover that in a future video. Next two pens which I wanted to speak about very briefly would be my TWSBIs. I'm still enjoying my TWSBIs quite a lot, and key thing to note about these TWSBIs is that I've noticed, and I'll do a very quick writing sample after this, that you know, sometimes, you know, a particular nib behaves differently, you know, depending on what I mean, as opposed to what you might originally have thought about it. So this nib, which is actually a broad, writes so much wetter than this one, which is a stub. And it could be because of many reasons. I think this pen naturally is rather wet. I have tried this pen with many ink and paper combinations, and it's, you know, even though it writes fine, it's not as wet as this broad. So there's a common thinking that the broader you go, the wetter the nib would become, but that's not true, which you'll see later on with these two pens. The other thing to take note of is, you know, I mean, the other example about that characteristic is that this Stellar 90S is one of the wettest nibs I've ever used for a pilot medium, right? I don't have that many pilot mediums, but you'll see later on in another video. This next pen was something which I did a quick look not too long ago, which is the Waterman Graduate / Allure. And the reason why it's here and it's still inked up is because, you know, I'm still going through and working through that cartridge that it came with. I'm enjoying that Waterman ink that it came in. And kind of the second thoughts or kind of second look for this pen would be, you know, how enjoyable a cheaper pen or more affordable pen is. Lots of people think that you have to kind of spend lots and lots of money for your pen to enjoy it, right? To have it give you a very nice writing experience. I would say that this particular pen, lots of people might discount it as being something that's not rare, not unique. It writes super well for a simple nib like this, right? And the last pen which I wanted to speak about before I get into the writing sample for the TWSBIs is actually the Lume. Now, out of the two Lumes which I featured in my previous video for the Faber-Castell Lume, I surprised myself that I actually prefer the extra fine on this one. I think everyone needs an extra fine in their pen collection, probably because of the usual reason that you might not get the best fountain pen paper every time you use your pens. And also, you know, you need an extra fine for kind of, you know, if you want to kind of have a distinctive look when you're practicing your calligraphy or your handwriting. Extra fine brings out kind of the look of very nice handwriting in a way that even though you can do that with broader nibs, I find that fine and extra fine kind of brings out the look of writing a lot more. Right. Back with my writing sample. Before I kind of kick it off, I wanted to introduce the notebook which I'm using, which is by Kokoyu, and it's their 100th anniversary or century edition record book in A5. Just picked this up and I'm really enjoying the paper quality that this notebook brings. So starting with this pen, which is the Lamy, wanted to show you, you know, that technique which I mentioned earlier on. So I mean, as I mentioned, if you hold your index finger over this this facet, right, you can actually write pretty comfortably, and you know, it won't. Sometimes I find it's a little bit. It helps me in the accuracy when putting you know, towards the paper, right? So give it a go. I'm still on my Lamy Blue cartridge for this one. And moving on to my two Falcon nibs. So I wanted to show you again a sneak peek of the 912. I tend to kind of hold my finger over the top of the nib nowadays. So this is the Pilot Custom Heritage. A little bit of a dry. And this is an FA, right? And you saw a little bit of railroading down here. It is a softer pen, like I mentioned, right, compared to the 823. So I hope that that kind of ink flow is coming through on the video as well. So this is the Pilot Custom 823 FA. And it doesn't run as broad because I feel that the nib isn't as soft, and I don't really dare to kind of push the nib that much. But both nibs are pretty enjoyable. And then the two TWSBIs. So I wanted to explain kind of the difference. I have this one with Diamine Safari, which is by default a rather dry ink, right? But hopefully you can see when I write, and this is in 1.1 stub, that, you know, even though you can see that variation down here, it is pretty dry, right? Compared to this pen, or moderately dry. It's not like super dry or anything like that, which is the broad. Technically it should be less wet than this one, but I mean, look at the amount of ink that this one is producing. So I mean, lots and lots of ink coming out for this, and it's a very enjoyable nib. The other thing to take note of for the pens that I have talked about today, a viewer actually mentioned, you know, why ink so many pens at one time? I mean, you know, because I can, right? Because that's the purpose of having a fountain pen, that you can actually put in, you know, inks of your choice and have them at your disposal at any time, right? I'm not limited to just using black or blue and all that. So, and with different line variations also helps. So this is the Waterman Graduate, and I really enjoy this, or the yellow, and I really enjoy this pen for everyday use, right? So it's a very practical nib, you know, not the sexiest or anything like that, but it's very reliable, you know, works super well every time, and it kind of fits my hand as well, right, lengthwise. And the last pen that I spoke about today is actually the Lume. I find that I have to post the Lume to kind of make it write comfortably. And this is an extra fine. Very nice nib with excellent feedback. Really enjoy this nib. And it's very precise, pretty dry compared to the rest, which means it works well on any paper literally that you use on it. So I hope you liked today's video format. It was a little bit different, bit of a second look, so to say. And, you know, having a different variety of nib widths inked at every time with different colors and shades, you know, try it out, and, you know, let me know whether or not you do something similar, or you stick with one pen for until you finish that the ink in that pen and move to another pen. Let me know what are your practices ink-wise and pen-wise. I'll be interested to see in your comments. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.